Trump says that the average undocumented immigrant is a criminal who doesn't pay taxes, is a drain on our resources, takes American jobs, and overall just hurts the economy. And this is the narrative he uses to try to sell his mass deportation operation to the average American. But how much of this is actually true? We're going to find out right now. Right out of the gate, you have to know that compared to the US-born population, undocumented immigrants are roughly 50% less likely to be arrested for violent crimes. So not a good start for the crime argument. And this chart shows just how wrong Donald Trump is, because this blue line represents the foreign-born population growing from 1980 until today, and these three lines beneath it are crime rates that are going down or staying completely flat. So as you can see, there is no correlation between the foreign-born population going up and crime rates going up. In fact, it's the opposite. Now, this is not to say that no undocumented immigrants commit violent crimes, because some of them do, but it would surprise Republicans to know that 97% of Democrats think that those people who've committed violent crimes should be deported. So we're actually on the same page here about that specific piece of this puzzle. It's pretty much all the rest of it where we don't agree. Now let's talk about the economic impact. First of all, it's very important to note that undocumented immigrants actually do pay taxes to the tune of almost $100 billion per year. So this idea that they're not paying taxes is complete bullshit. And most of the things they're paying taxes into, like Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare, they can't access those programs. So they're really just a net benefit to those programs since they're not drawing anything out of them. But the economic story gets even worse for Trump the deeper you look. If we were to give a path to citizenship to all undocumented immigrants who have not committed crimes, we would get $68 billion in additional state and local tax revenue, $116 billion in federal tax revenue, and $1.4 trillion in GDP growth over the next 10 years. And in direct contrast with that, if we were to go Trump's route and just deport everybody, we would have major economic problems. We would see a significant drop in labor force. We would also see a significant drop in the US economy, a $1.6 trillion reduction in GDP, and $400 billion in direct costs to the US government for executing those deportations. The numbers do not lie. This is a bad economic idea across the board. Now, this doesn't mean that everything Trump says about undocumented immigrants is untrue. There are criminal undocumented immigrants, some who don't pay taxes, some who are freeloading off of our system illegally. Those people exist, but they are a tiny fraction of the undocumented immigrant population, and to say we need to deport all of them to solve this tiny problem is a major error. If the Trump administration had focused strictly on those outliers, violent criminals, and people who are scamming the system, most people would be on board. But the reason that we're not on board is because he's not doing that. He's focusing on everybody. And as you see from the evidence, doing that is a mistake. Trump is just trying to throw the baby out with the bathwater, and I think we all can agree that that's usually just not the right approach.